applicable in different fields because it's not, the whole survey has not been written into targeting just the medical field. It has been written in order to find what is the best leadership approach. So that's why I get so interested about this topic. So what is multi-generational workforce? It's a group of employees of a given company employed within the same period of time and presenting a minimum of 2 age groups. There are around 5 multi-generational groups, but I selected the 3 because I found, based on my research on the higher education institute, I found majority of them, they have these 3 generations. So baby boomer, which is 52 till 71, generation X, is 35 till 200 millennials, 16 till 34. So, and how I'm going to measure the differences in order to find how these multi-generational are communicating, interacting, what type of conflict between them, what's their perception about the best leadership practices. I selected to select the work value of mentoring, which has been created in 1981, which I'm going to talk about later. So, as I mentioned earlier, there are so many advantages, but just put the light on, some of the advantages and disadvantages of studying multi-generational workforce. One of the advantages is contribute expertise, different skills. What we can find is even if you evaluate it within your own organization, you find that different generations really contribute to other generations. Sometimes different skills, different mentality, different way of approaching things, different leadership, different ethic, different values. And so that differences is really adding a beauty to the workforce. And diverse environments. Imagine if all our environment is the same. We have the same belief, we have the same values, we have the same experiences. Isn't it going to be so boring environment? Because there is no challenge. There is no motivator that encourages us to learn from the other people. And improve the problem solution capacity of the content. So improve the problem. I found out like since any organization is really involved multi-generational, it's within a human being that motivates them to find the best way to communicate with the second generations. If they, for example, let's assume with your boss, if you boss from another generation, sometimes it's really giving you the chance to stand out and to think about how your boss is thinking about such an issue. And if you just stop and that situation allows you to think, then this is a major learning opportunity. And the disadvantages, maybe it's a source of conflict, which is reality. Look at the younger generation. If you have within your organization a younger generation, isn't it sometimes you keep saying these young generation, they really are not confident. They don't know how things are supposed to be done. You keep critiquing them. It's not because you want to critique them, because something is different mentality, different way of doing things. So that's creating major conflict between generations and challenges from managerial leadership perspective. Because what we find out from the study, even when we wrote the interview and the survey, that a lot of people spoke about, and even when I was interviewing people, they keep asking me, so what's the best leadership style? Even the organization themselves, even the managers, they don't know what's the best leadership style to communicate with different generations, to reduce the gap between different generations. And the study is really, it's like the whole purpose of it, because we find out like UAE, as we know, UAE is now transferring to knowledge-based society. So we need to know more about multi-generational workforce and how it's really playing a major role in enhancing and developing the whole organization. Because there are a lot of research that has been written about that topic, and we find out that because a lot of leaders, they don't pay attention to multi-generational workforce, that creates a lot of problems, okay, and in interacting between the leader and the different generations. And we believe that education sector is the key driver behind any transition. In order to solve anything, the education is the main major and is the key element. So I built my research question based on several readings. So I was asking, and I want to find an answer regarding how widespread a multi-generational team within the chosen educational institute. How do values, attitudes, towards born and family as source of motivation differ among the representative generation? What are the challenges encountered by the manager when leading multi-generational teams? Which are the most effective leadership styles utilized to effectively engage multi-generational workforce and to ensure the highest level of performance? So, honestly, at the end of the study, my main aim was to find an answer regarding these questions. So, and alhamdulillah, I found some answers. So the methodology of team was based on exploratory research method, and it involves survey and interviews. And regarding the survey, it has been, I use survey monkey in order to help me to analyze, and then I transfer all the data into the SPSS to get more depth analysis. And regarding the interview, I use the coding in order to connect the survey to the interview. So my sample size was, to be honest with you, I communicated with 5 universities. And many universities was on and off, on and off. And unfortunately, 3 of the university the government decided to merge them. So they responded back and they said, we don't know who's going to take the lead. So they decided not to participate. Based on that, I selected Zayed University and Abu Dhabi University, and I requested, the distribution. My aim was, honestly, at the beginning with the 5 university, is to get 1,000. And my supervisor told me, don't kill yourself. Be reasonable. You won't find 5 universities responding. You won't find an answer. What the interesting thing. And my aim was 30 interviewees. The interesting thing, I got 100, manager interested to involve in the interview. And I found around 200 members who was interested to fill that survey. I thought that people won't be willing to speak with the researcher and have a transport interview. Well, that really was amazing. So after I started in August, and I started reminding people. And alhamdulillah, I reached 500 survey. It was 520 while these are the 15 elements. The survey is measuring creativity, management, achievement, and surrounding, and the results. These 15 elements. The whole survey is 45 items, statements, and I requested from the participant to respond to the 45. So, the result. Before I speak about the result, what I did, because after the analysis I found out like there are some elements that are really connected. So what I did, I connected some of the elements in order to simplify the analysis point. So creativity and the artistic way of looking to the world and beauty is connected. So after the analysis, we found there is no significant difference among the three generations. I thought at the beginning before giving the data, there will be, especially with respect to creativity, I thought there will be a major significant differences among the generation, especially when it comes to the baby boomer and the millennials. And yeah, there's based on what I received, based on the data. And when it comes to the management, I connected the management and supervisory relationship because both of them is about authority. Both of them are about managing people. The interesting thing is management is the only element. I found there is a major, a significant difference among the three generations comparing to the rest of the elements. Achievement, slightly different, but prestige, not such significant difference. Surrounding, there is little differences among the generation, but not the major. And associate, which is related to the friend, connecting and communicating with other people. And way of life, also there is a difference. But if we compare it to the management is taking the lead on the whole thing. Independence, there is a lot of differences. It's not a major. Security, economic return. When it comes to security, we find there is really people like millennials is really very concerned about it, more than the rest of the generation. And the last three elements, which is variety of spiritual stimulation, we find there is no significant differences. So when it comes to the interview, okay, to simplify the whole thing, when it comes to the interview, after interviewing 30 managers, people on the management, I found out like the interesting thing that they don't know what is the best leadership approach to deal with the three different generations. And these managers mentioned that they do recognize and they do know that the three generations exist within the workplace. However, they never pay attention to such a thing. To them, it's like, this is a work, and what's the achievement, the evaluation, there are some elements, but none of them put the light on like, okay, in order to connect and creating an environment that is going to be productive, we need to understand the different generation perspective and we need to reduce the gap. So a lot of them, they ask, so what is the best leadership approach? They think that I can respond to that. While even researchers, the previous researchers didn't respond to such a thing. Because there is no one best leadership at this time. It's based on the environment. From one environment to another, it's going to vary. So, let's talk about, let me talk about, yes. So, the interesting thing, part of the interview, they mentioned several types of leadership. Some of them, they mentioned transformation. Transformation has been mentioned a lot. And I was surprised. And I thought people are not really well aware about like what is transformational leadership. But through my interview with the discussion, they are aware and they are really want to apply such a a type of transformational leadership. Are they ready? Is the leadership really the people who's on the top of their line manager are ready to apply such a thing? They said they don't know. And they said they don't know if the organization itself is going to be flexible and encouraging them to apply such a thing. And there is a lot of type that they mentioned, which is all about sharing. It's about communicating. It's about changing the typical leadership style, the order that comes from the top to down. They want to be part of the team. They feel like they are not part of the whole process. So, majority of the interviewees mentioned open dialogue, education, mentorship program. It's really gonna help them in enhancing and reducing the gap between the generations. And a lot of research, mentioned that professional development, opportunities for growth, flexibility, and the work environment is also really gonna add a lot of emphasis and encourage people to deal with other generations. Yes, and millennials want to be their own boss. Contractive, non-study education can be used to prepare future leaders because a lot of studies mention that we should prepare the young generation to take the lead in the future. While the most interesting thing I found for the study that many parents, they want to be their own boss. They believe that they are leaders and they know what they are doing and they know what they want. And that doesn't really work with the people because they think that they don't respect them and they don't respect the hierarchy. And that is one of the conflicts. So, after I concluded the whole survey and interview and the analysis, and I read a lot of research paper articles, one of my recommendations was transformational leadership, and it's not my own. I took it from what the participants suggested. Transformational leadership and reverse mentoring, group development meeting, because whatever mission here is missing. This is what I get from the people I spoke to. Establish collaboration between age groupers because there is no collaboration. There's no how can I say it? A clear way to transfer knowledge or a strong way of transferring knowledge. And when it comes to information security, there is the baby boomers, they don't want to share it with their generations because they want to be spread of the news. They are scared about that. Well, that reduces the collaboration. And engage employee into decision making and foster creativity and productivity. We talk about a lot of innovation. We keep hearing it in our organization. But when it's applied or when we come to the implementing such a thing, we don't know how to do it. Because the environment doesn't really support such a thing. So what is the limitation of prior research? I believe it's going to be an outstanding opportunity and definitely the result will be totally different if it's applied in more than 2 universities. Because 2 universities, honestly, it won't represent the whole higher education institute in the United Arab Emirates.